everybody. We are finally live. Thank you for all of you being persistent. And we finally are here with the wonderful Dean Frenkel. So we're very happy. And I'm just going to launch straight in and I'm going to introduce you to Dean and just read out his wonderful bio to you all, just as a reminder. So, Dean Frenkel works as a wellness breathing instructor, a presenter, a harmonic singer, a singing teacher, an educator, writer, university lecturer, performer, recording artist, and speech coach. So that's a large repertoire. So Dean is also one of the finest and harmonic singers in the world and has released several albums. And Dean has been teaching harmonic singing to thousands of people since 1994. He holds the Guinness World Record for breath and voice, and he's also the creator of the Wellness Breathing Training Program, where he trains advanced breath skills via the use of the voice. So Dean also runs regular harmonic singing workshops in Melbourne, and I believe he does do some online work too, but I'll let him elaborate on that soon. And so welcome, Dean. Thank you so much for being here. And it's great. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Manisha. Really much appreciated.
It's wonderful.
So it's really good that we've got people who are interested in this subject, and that enables me to be able to teach and hopefully raise people's awareness so they can have a better life. You know, I think a lot of this is about empowering us with natural skills that sometimes we didn't realise that we have.
Absolutely. And I think more now than ever in our lives, we're needing everything we can get to help us get along in the world well, both mentally and physically. So it's fantastic. Dean, I thought I would ask you first just to tell us, really explain what harmonic singing is.
Sure, Manisha. Harmonic singing, it's a very complicated definition for such a simple notion. Harmonic singing is the world's oldest form of singing. It has been practiced by shamans and native peoples all over the world far longer than there are records that we can find. But there is evidence of that. Then there's all these different styles of throat singing, which is harmonic singing is one of the family of throat singing. And you might have heard Tibetans do their very deep ooh, which is only about as old as 1200 AD, which actually makes it quite young compared to some of the other cultures that have been practicing it. So you've got the Siberian Eskimos, the Chukchi tribe. You've got they can be traced back to up to 20,000 years. And you've got Canadian Inuits on the one side of the Bering Strait, and then you've got the Siberians on the other. Now, 14 to 20,000 years ago, that was just one piece of land. There are harmonic singers or throat singers on both sides of that strait still. But the actual epicenter of harmonic singing, if you don't count the native societies, is Germany. Germany happens to have a surplus of outstanding harmonic singers. There are reasons for it because started with Karl-Heinz Stockhausen in the 1960s, who spawned a whole lot of really good harmonic singers over there. But, you know, beyond Germany, in Australia, I mean, I've taught rather a lot of people how to do it, but it's still a very much minority practice. And I haven't even started about harmonic singing. The It is such a healthy practice to do. It involves having to self-calm. It involves strengthening all the vocal muscles that need to be tested. And I'm going to ask you a trick question, Manisha, and trick is the word. How many muscles do you think there are in the tongue?
Oh, in the tongue. I thought you were going to say the face. Well, I know there's lots in the face. I'll just take a stab. 40, 50, maybe? I don't know.
Okay, so I think in the face it's about 24 muscles. In the tongue, there are 8 muscles. And
way off.
and there's all sorts of exercises that you can do that can muscle up the different muscles of the tongue. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, when you get really old, it's really good to have a lot of strength in that region. And if you want to see here we go. So we have the hyoid muscles under here, and they're quite extraordinary, and you can get them to be quite strong, and those are the same muscles that help us to swallow and breathe and cry, and if we have to, vomit, and so on. And if those muscles are weak or not working quite right, then there are consequences that you won't have to pay if you make them strong now. And I don't want to make people anxious about that, but I'm just saying that there is so much to look after in the human body, and you can put all your attention into 99 things, but then there's that one other thing that you also may need to do. So harmonic singing is nearly everything about it is the opposite to what you would think. So it's mastering the art of under-singing. It's vocal instrumentation as opposed to singing songs. It's creating at least 2 sounds with a singular voice. It involves developing high energy, high efficiency in your breathing. In order to be efficient in your breathing, you've got to muscle up the breathing muscles. And that's just a snippet.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a connection between singing and breathing, and somehow by doing singing, there's a very beneficial effect on the actual breath process. Is that correct?
Not all forms of singing. So different forms of singing will tax different muscles and different brain connections. Harmonic singing is one of those forms of singing where your breath is going to last usually about twice as long as normal singing, for example. Because you're being so efficient with your breath, it literally lasts longer. And then as you do that, the muscles strengthen up, and you go on a process of finding and exploring resonance. And, if we're talking about vibrations, if we're talking about harmonic singing, we're also talking about resonance, and being able to create vibrations has a resonant response on our health, as well as on our surroundings, on the people around us, on the animals around us. And dare I tell you, if anyone's got an animal in the room and I do this, the animal's going to hear it.
Oh, Dean, that sounds amazing. That was phenomenal. Is that harmonic singing?
So what you heard there is more than one sound with the voice. Now,
we heard the wonderful, wonderful demonstration
Thank
How
you.
long does it take you to take a person to learn to sing like that, Dean?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer because on the one hand, you can get the harmonics straight away. On the other hand, it's an evolutionary process where development never actually stops. So it's really a case of, if I can get you resonating, do you want me to show you how to do it, Manisha?
Well, maybe you can. We could instruct the audience, and if there's some little exercise that everyone can do in their little home, is that something you can do?
Easy.
Okay, everyone, are you ready? We're going to follow Dean's instructions.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get a buzz on our voice, but we need to listen to the sound not with Western ears. We need to listen to the sound and embrace the vibration, embrace the buzz. So we go like this. Beep. And if you can hear the buzz, see if you can hear it in your own voice. So I'm going to give you a few seconds and just go 1, 2, 3. Beep.
I'm too embarrassed to do it while everyone's listening. I think everyone else can practice it. Is it just
you were actually going to be really good, but you got embarrassed because it's watch how silly I am. See if you can do it with me, Manisha, while I do that. That is very good. So that is the buzz I'm talking about. Did you feel that buzz on the voice?
What do you actually mean by buzz? Can you tell us what you mean by that? Then I can maybe answer better.
So I'm going to answer by doing. Have a beep. Can you hear that buzzy sound on my voice?
Yes.
That's what you had.
Okay, I've got you. Yeah.
And the buzz can be like a ring. Now, the thing about that buzz is that if you're resonating, then in order to resonate, you've got to have a whole lot of things go right. And then once you are resonating, well, you are taking your personality out of its shell and into the wide world. And it's a really good thing to do. But you've got to be willing to make slightly strange sounds in order to do it.
Excellent. Sounding good. So take a walk or do it in your own privacy of your own home. I love singing. I've got no idea what I sound like, but so we want to get that buzzing sound, and you were using your mouth, so you were ooh and ee. Is that correct?
Is that E when you did the E? That's perfect.
E. Okay. So we want to get that going.
What I'm going to do is, once I get the E, and I'm focusing on my mouth here, once you get the E, you make your lips go slow motion into ooh. But the tongue stays on E. It's like a naughty teenager. So the tongue doesn't sing in concert with the other muscles. So it's like this. And the lips are controlling the harmonic tone. That's why you hear more than one tone.
Okay.
So we hold the E, but the lips are like the naughty teenager, which moves slowly into ooh. Slow's important because then you pass over all the positions, and I'll show you the positions. So with every note, you can sing up to 15 harmonics, as in That's all on the one note.
Wow. Are you doing that by just slightly moving your lips?
That's right.
And the tongue, what happens with the tongue? Does that stay?
I was doing then a different technique, because there's lots of techniques. Every vowel and soft consonant is a technique of their own. So I was starting you off on the easier one, which is E, but I was doing which is a more advanced version, but most people won't get it at the start.
Okay, and that looks like you've rolled up your tongue to touch the behind your teeth. Okay, and you're making the sound ooh, no, or
so it's actually amazing, and it is a qigong position. It's quite a remarkable energetic position anyway. So the tongue is blocking all the sound from coming out except for a tiny bit. The tongue actually rebounds the sound back into the mouth, and then just a little pinprick hole where my wisdom teeth is, then it travels to my teeth. I can prove it. Watch this. I'll do it the right side first. Left side. So the air is going between my teeth through my lips.
Fascinating. So I'm interested about the Qigong. You've said in your description that this sort of singing can actually assist in relieving anxiety and helping the parasympathetic nervous system. So tell us a little bit about that. I'm curious.
Sure.
Yeah.
The very action of the singing impacts on the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, when it is stimulated, turns down the cortisol levels and turns up other brain chemicals, possibly oxytocin, likely dopamine, and a lot of that is a result of the vagus nerve having been stimulated. The vagus nerve is a nerve that travels from the brain down to the stomach, and it passes by next to the vocal cords. And so when you're going or you are, and if you're controlling that resonance, then you are stimulating the vagus nerve. Now, usually also with my wellness breathing clients, I time how long they go, and where possible, I also do a comparative heart rate, so before and after. Usually the singing will reduce heart rate by 10 to 15%, in me anyway. I actually did a performance a few weeks ago and tested myself just beforehand with the pre-performance nerves, which I thought would be about at least 90 beats per minute. And then I thought that then I'd perform, that it'd go above 100. Well, the pre-performance heart rate was 78 beats per minute. When I came off the stage, it was actually the first time I'd performed like that for a few years. It went down from 71 to 69. So it actually went down 10% during performing.
From 78 to 68 or from 71?
From 78 to 71, which then down to 69, then back up to 71.
Wow. So good at reducing heart rate and relaxation then. That's beautiful.
And there are some really simple ways that we can do that. So just having long vocal breaths is one way to bring down the heart rate. And a simple exercise that I do with my wellness breathers is N for Nelly. And we go like... Manisha, could you do that for me? Infinitely. It's yeah.
Is that what you mean?
It's exactly what I mean.
I hope
And well
everyone
done.
out there is doing it as well as nobody can hear you like you can hear me, so you're more private than I am. But yeah, I hope everyone's practicing what Dean's doing as he's going along. That's fantastic. So was that correct, doing the
That was
sound?
fantastic. It was actually
Okay.
fantastic. And I'd almost guarantee that 3/4 of the people would have done it. And I want to do it again. What I do is I time people how long they can do that. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about that particular exercise. It's actually fantastic, I believe. You are practicing internal resonance. What do I mean by that? When I'm talking now, my resonance is mostly external, which is why you can hear it the way you can. Internal resonance is only really where you do M for Mary, N for Nelly, or but have a shot and go and then block your nose. See where that sound is coming out of.
What sound were you actually making? The NG sound?
That's just N for Nelly.
N. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
and
give
then
it a
block
go.
it.
And then block the nose. I'll give it a go. And don't laugh, audience, when I do this. Okay. It's hard, actually.
Well, it's actually not, because you're doing it perfectly right and well.
Okay.
And what you proved is that all the sound that is going into the external environment is coming through your nostrils.
Oh, I see.
So if you block the nose, then you can't do it anymore. So
Yeah.
what is happening is your skull becomes a concert hall.
Oh, how
And
interesting.
and then while the skull and also the body, your body is also resonating as well. But while your skull becomes the concert hall, you are also regulating your breathing. So that breathing is a constant exhalation, and there would be other things as well. So it becomes a particularly healthy exercise. And, if you want to stimulate the vagus nerve travels right past and through that region and gets impacted by it, which is why there's very few things that you can tangibly provide evidence for, but heart rate is one that you can.
Now that's interesting. I used to do a yoga little exercise where you put your fingers in your ears and hum, and the resonance that you can actually hear and feel inside the skull, inside the head, becomes really pronounced. But it's not very loud on the outside, but really loud and echoey on the inside. Would that be similar to what you're talking about?
Almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a yoga, or it is one aspect of yoga, but by blocking the ears, you are opening your ears to your internal world.
Okay.
I'd actually suggest you try. I would do that. Do the N for Nelly or M for Mary. They're both different. The M for Mary is more like you got more bass in there, whereas that is higher and more trebly.
So M is more bass and N is more treble, higher. Is that correct?
Right. That's right.
Okay.
So it's a little bit like the difference between a violin and a cello.
Okay. And do they have different effects on the body or the mental state?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
the M for Nelly will have more of a stimulant effect, whereas the will be a bit more calming, hence the om.
Okay. And hence also the humming yoga exercise. It's very good for calming the nerves. That's very interesting. Okay.
And that is, you watch that grow because it's huge. It actually really works. Humming yoga. I mean, I've been doing this for over 15 years in terms of teaching this, and have come across it. I'm really impressed that others are starting to do humming yoga, because it is a yoga and it's just fantastic. But I do suggest block your ears and then do the and you'll hear it.
Mm.
And I'll explain why after you do it.
Okay. Are we going to do that? Will everyone join me along while we're doing it? Should we do it now?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's give it a go.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that was very interesting. That's I felt the vibration going up high in the head.
And I'm not surprised. And you can take that vibration to different places as you get better at learning how to use them. But more importantly, using the breathing and the vibrations to lower anxiety and to lower the heart rate and to lower the cortisol levels are, in this particular age, you know, we do not, I have to admit, I'm not a person for antidepressants, or I know that they do help some people, but I think that if we can use natural methods to control and to maintain our stress, it really is, for me, it's preferable anyway. And this is one of the ways you do it. You can do it via breath and voice.
That's fantastic. So just to elaborate on that, you said the sound is more calming, like the and the is more uplifting. So would you expect, if a person's a little bit low in mood, in other words, depressed or sad, that they'd be wanting to do more of the sound? And if you are an anxious type, lots more of the type? Would you?
It's a clever question. It is a clever question. Ideally, you're probably right, but do the M or the N or both is going to be great.
Okay, both probably.
But there is something else too, and that is touching off the ability to be able to listen to harmonics. So if you're doing but you can't hear those other harmonics, then there's almost no point in doing them. So you train your ear to be able to listen to the harmonics, and there'll be people there on this webinar who might hear harmonics coming from the fridge or the washing machine or the like. Delighted to say, don't freak out, because you're just tapping into another brain ability. It's a different type of listening. We're not listening in the way that we used to listen to Britney Spears. We're listening more like the caveman. We're listening to the outer sounds. We're listening with the ears of an animal.
How do you get into that space to do that?
Practice.
Okay. Intentional listening with practice.
Well, not even just that. As you get better, you start to, I mean, first you're hearing the buzz. First you're hearing the harmonics in the buzz. And within that, you are welcoming them now. Whereas previously you might have been thinking, I don't want to make such weird sounds. In fact, they're the sounds that a lot of kids make. And then the teacher comes or the parent comes and says, stop making those silly sounds. You sound terrible. And then they never do it again. This is a chance for adults to reattach themselves to the children in them and to do something that's actually really good for them. Because it's only by being silly and being creative that we actually pick up the skills that come with being silly and creative.
I like that. Hence, you were talking in your the introduction for the webinar about the importance of play. And that's what you're referring to, I imagine, to be able to play and make the sounds and be childlike. And is that what you meant?
Oh, yeah. And even more so, the play aspect, it's so important. And it's not even just for the kids. It's or to bring out the kid. It's also it stretches you. One of the things the singing does is it sensitizes your senses to. So if you're seeing something, the sky suddenly looks beautiful. The stars are amazing when you do this to the stars. The fire. But I have a particular love of singing harmonics to different species.
Animals?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh.
So dogs absolutely love it. It's just so cool. Cats, not always. Camels, giraffes, meerkats, llamas, fantastic.
What do they do when they hear you? How do they respond?
Well, it all depends on the animal because they don't always respond as a species as well. I know I upset, well, I didn't upset, I perturbed a lion once doing it. Fortunately, there was a cage there. So what they'll do is, in fact, I've got I did a chapter in my book of photos of animals when they heard harmonics. So there was an ape that was going like this.
Oh, wow.
There was a cat. It's actually the phone's too small, but I could get the book and show you the photos, which are in black and white, won't look good anyway. The meerkats stand to attention and look, where's that sound coming from? So cool. Animals with big ears like deer, they point them in your direction. And, oh yeah, most amazing experience was when I sang to a giraffe. And the giraffe just locked its legs and stared at me for 10 minutes. Didn't move. I've got a great photo of it. Just burst out laughing because when you've got a giraffe looking at you, mesmerized, it's bizarre. It's so cool.
Wow. You could maybe disarm an opponent by doing that singing. It would maybe surprise and stun them to the point that they would no longer want to attack. But anyway, coming back to practicals, and I'm just going to, while I ask this question, I'm just inviting everyone who's on the call to put in your questions, please, into the chat section for Dean so that we can ask him a few more questions. That would be fantastic. But I wanted to ask you about what are your recommendations about how often or what time of the day is best to practice these sorts of exercises? What do you call it? Harmonic singing, I guess, toning or, yeah.
So toning is another way, overtoning. They're all words that describe much the same thing. Time of the day, it's a very good question, and I don't know if I can actually give a great answer to it. Waking up early and doing it is very nice, but it's not something I do that much these days. It can be pretty good to do before you go to sleep in order to get into your meditation. It is a meditation practice. So, but it's also, I'm going to think of it a little bit differently again, and that is that I'm going to come back to vibrations and want to say that there is no vibration without life. Okay, so, vibrations are intrinsic to life. There is no vibrations means no life. So even when we go to a heartbeat, That is a vibration. But then we've also got colour has vibration, and different colours have higher and lower frequencies. And then music, of course, music is organised vibration. I do want to say that with the singing I do, I don't actually think of it as singing. I'm playing the voice as an instrument. So my body is more like a cello than a violin, I guess. And I play it, not singing songs. But there's another thing. Mood has vibrations. Okay. So as we all know, when we're in a low mood, when you're in a low mood, the vibrations are going too slowly. And sorry, that's the hypno voice.
Yeah.
But when your vibrations are going fast and too fast for what we're comfortable with, it's anxiety. So if we can recognize that when we're anxious, then we are vibrating too fast, then a good, and I showed you the exercise just, and there are lots of other exercises too, but one that we can do is the longest N for Nelly, and that will have the impact of slowing the heart rate somewhat. And as the heart rate slows, your vibrations can lift. And if your vibrations lift, you feel better. So vibrations can be high and yet slow. And that's exactly what's happening in meditation. So when there are slow wave vibrations, and it's by doing meditation, and you know, at least half the people there are going to say, but I don't meditate well. I'm going to come back at you and say, okay, let's understand meditation more. Meditation, if you can have a bath, you can meditate.
Yes, I was going to say that it would be a wonderful way for people who do have troubles. I've used the technique of using the voice at times when I've had problems to settle my mind, and I start doing, I've had some mantras, a lot of them with M sounds in them, and I just sing them, and pretty effectively, pretty quickly, it does bring me into a calmer state, a type of meditation, I guess. So the singing itself, I guess, is a meditation.
Look, it can be, and then there's, sitting in front of the television is not a meditation. but some of the criteria that define a meditation are there. For example, you're sitting still. For example, you are focused on one thing. For example, you are taking your attention out of yourself into whatever you're watching. Now, those are really crucial components of meditation, but there's a few other aspects that are not so good there. But it's understanding. We actually can meditate a lot better than we realize. It's just finding the right ones. And no one meditation works for everyone.
Absolutely. I heard a story that I just wanted to share. Well, it's not the story, it's an account, a true account of somebody who was diagnosed with cancer. And apparently the cancer was so advanced and in an area where she wasn't able to have conventional treatment. So she tried an experiment, and she did things like going for long walks every day and did a visualizing technique. And she used to sing for at least an hour a day. And apparently after, I don't know what period of time it was at least 6 months, but her cancer actually cleared. And, I've often wondered about the power of vibrations. We talk about sound having an effect on cellular function, that possibly that very powerful voice sound, internal vibrations, could completely change the cellular function or, activity.
So great minds think alike, but there has been no money devoted to studying that at this point because it doesn't make money for pharmaceutical companies and it's hard to convince a lot of scientists. But there will be sometime a very progressive scientist who's actually going to test it because it's not that hard to test. And it's going, it'll come out. But what you are saying, I know, with the results that I'm seeing in my clients, that that the internal vibration practice is huge and is far, far more useful than is being given credit for. I mean, look, most people don't even know about it yet.
So if I do have a client who's really struggling with cancer at the moment, she's just going through her first round of chemo, and but if I was to give somebody a little exercise to do, or anybody who was struggling with their health, would you start them on the N, the long N sound?
I would, but I'd also, it all depends on how sick they are too. So if they are, if they're really sick, like I had one new client, about 4 months ago, we did 31 sessions. She had partial paralysis of one side of her larynx, and therefore she lost most of her capacity for breath as well. And so when I first timed her, she was only able to hold 3 seconds, which was a record low. After the 31st lesson, she'd gotten to 21 seconds. And her voice is back. She's mostly, she's now got another health challenge on her, I believe. But she did really, really well. So the N and the M is a really good one to do. Now, I'm going to show you another very funny exercise that if you ever want to lift your vibrations, right? This is something that I learned off drugs. Are you ready? Whoa, whoa,
whoa! That's a wolf call, is it?
And it's a wolf call. It is. So I hope everyone else is doing that. Let's come on.
I'm not going to. That's wonderful. That would be a really freeing up sound to make. Tell us about it. What is it? What does it do?
Well, look, in the exercises that I've got over 40 exercises in my wellness breathing program, and a lot of the exercises seem to run in parallel with animals. So with animal sounds even. And, I realized that I even learned from my last dog about how good it is. You watch a dog just before it goes to sleep, it will usually take a deep breath through the nose and out through the nose, then go to sleep. So there is a settling breath. Now, I'm really intrigued that other animals are more intelligent at some of these things than us humans, and that I think it's really good to learn from them. Now, in terms of the woo, 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 you are exercising your false vocal cords, which you may not otherwise exercise. It's a freeing. It literally lifts you when you do that. So if you're in a little bit of a lull, and you don't really feel like doing that when you're in a lull or a shell, but it's pretty damn good. And I used to do that with my choir, my classes. I'd have them do that every week, and in the middle of a park, and then
that would be attention.
It was, yeah. Look, so a lot of this is about needing to be willing to make unusual sounds in order to find your better self. And you do find your better self. It's just that people think about how it sounds rather than what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. So, Dean, I'm curious to know about your training courses, and for people who might not live in Melbourne, I assume it's Melbourne that you're living in and do the workshops in. But if someone wanted to do an online course, can you just tell us a little bit about the sort of training work you're doing and what's available?
Sure, Manisha. Very happy to. I've actually stopped my weekly harmonic singing classes. I was doing it every week for 15 years on a Saturday. But I do have, I'm teaching at the Wood End Winter Arts Festival in a few weeks. I do my wellness breathing sessions online, so people all over the world, though I haven't got them in every country, unfortunately. So all they have to do is get in contact with me and book a lesson or some lessons, and we would strengthen up the vocal cords. We would work on the breathing via the voice. We would also identify the muscles that are underperforming and then work on making them perform again better. And just basically teaching people to make sound and make breath to lift their quality of life.
Oh, that's excellent. And to get in touch with you, is that via your website? Is that deanfrenkel.com?
That is correct.
Okay. That's...
Yeah. Or my email address is magicsounds@mac.com.
Excellent. When I edit this video, I'll put that on the video so people can see that. Just repeat it again so people can write it down if they're wanting to do that.
So magicsounds@mac.com.
Excellent. magicsounds@mac.com. Lovely. That's wonderful. And I guess it's applicable for anyone, particularly people who might be struggling with mood type of health conditions, but and throat or voice issues. Or is there anything specific that you think that it's most appropriate for?
Oh, gee, good questions. So people who are recovering from serious illness, I've got one person who's recovering from MS, for example. Some people, heart attack recoverers. I just lost one of my 42-year-old client recently to cancer, which was terrible. And it happens both ways, you've got to be honest. People with asthma, people with breathing issues, singers who want to lengthen their career, for example, and so much more. And look, there is one other thing that is very counterintuitive, and you may or may not want to include this, Manisha, but I also design massage tools.
Oh, goodness, that's great. I have an abundance of those, and that's great. Just show us that again. That looks great. That looks like it could go on either side of the spine.
So, like that. I don't know if you can see it, but also like that.
Yes, I bet you that feels very good. I think it's great. If you can't get in to have a massage, having one of those on your coffee table in the evening and you just do that, I think it works well.
So I've found resonance without sound this way.
Oh, explain.
Well, because these, so the top two, they are like knuckles. If they were any bigger or any smaller or softer, they wouldn't work. You wouldn't get a resonant response. That is like a forearm. So the forearm goes there like that. If it were of a different shape or feel, it wouldn't work in the same way. And of course the elbow. And for me, I've got 5 different tools. I got into it largely because I can actually see tangible difference in. So again, these tools will, for me, it's generally about a 15% lowering of the heart rate, as well as the endorphins and dopamine release, and it's really good. But I'm going to say that because I designed them, but they actually are.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. I like that. That's great. I'm going to put a shout out to all our wonderful audience there. I haven't seen any questions unless I've missed them, but if you would like to ask anything of Dean while he's here, please go right ahead and ask. That would be wonderful. And we do apologise for the quality of the video. Tension removalist, is that the name of your
just me having a bit of fun.
Oh, I see.
So someone asks me, what do you do for a living? I say I'm a tension removalist.
That's great. We do apologise. Dean had some troubles with the computer getting onto this webinar jam. This is actually the last time we use webinar jam. We're going back to using Zoom. It seems to be a whole lot easier, but for that reason Dean needed to use his phone, and so it's not been optimal with the visuals, but we did get him on, which is most important, and we've got his valuable message through. And I really hope that all of you out there, I'm certainly really interested in starting to practice some of these toning exercises. And I really encourage you all to do that. We've got a little message here I'd like to read out from Kay Sutherland. I think she's in Northern Territory. No questions. However, once again, my many thanks, especially to Dean and to Manisha and all at the ILA. And she says, as a Qigong practitioner, this resonates with me and is a fabulous extension to my training. So grateful for this knowledge. Thank you. Thanks, Kay from Darwin, for that feedback. And I agree, it's the sort of thing that we can weave into all sorts of other therapies, whether we're doing colour, acupuncture, massage, whatever. We can encourage people to even start on doing some of these simple things. And we can refer people to you, Dean, which is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it has been such a pleasure. And you've got a lovely voice, Manisha, by the way. So
thank you.
You've got a good voice for this. So,
thank you so much. I enjoy speaking to people, especially interesting people like you who are doing great things. So it's wonderful.
Oh, you're very kind. I don't know, but you're very kind.
No, it's true. So once again, we're going to thank you very much, Dean, and thank all our attendees. And I'm going to remind you of Dean's website. It's deanfrenkel.com and magicsounds@mac.com. Is that correct? That's your email?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. So in case you want to be in touch with him, you've got the details there. All right, then. We'll call it a night. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Manisha.
All the best to you.
And to you too. And thank you to the ALA as well. It's really lovely they're putting this on.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Thanks again. See you, everyone. Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.